Hello friends, welcome to the Tech with Soft. So today session that we are going to cover data types. Okay, so what are the data types? What are the use of it that we are going to cover today? So first of all, before understanding the data type, you have to understand what is a data. Okay, so data is very important part in software industry. Okay, so what is data actually? First of all, so let's say I will give one example to you. Suppose I'm saying to you like you have to perform that addition of two numbers. Okay, that's simple mathematics kind of things, right? You have to perform addition of two numbers like 2 plus 2. So what is a 2 and what is a 2 here? Plus is a one kind of operator, right? Like for example, if I want to say here you have to perform 2 plus 2, right? So what are the 2 plus 2 here? 2 and 2. These 2 and 2 are the data only, and plus is nothing like an operator, right? So like that, let's take example of calculator. Okay, calculator does do some kind of operation, right? So calculator, when does it perform the operation, right? We do provide this 2 to the calculator and plus operator and then 2 to the calculator. So like as a human beings, you can understand like that. Okay, suppose you want to perform some kind of addition, right? Or any operation kind of that. Okay, so first someone person will come to you and he will ask to you, hey ABC person, could you please tell me what could be the 5 plus 9, right? So what you will do, first you will store that 5 into your brain, right? After that you will do plus operation, you know that use of the plus, right? And then you will store the 9 in your brain. If suppose you are in a sleeping mode, if your brain is not working, on that time if someone will ask you, could you please tell me what could be the 5 plus 9, could you able to answer that? No, right? Right? Same thing is happening here. If you want to perform 2 plus 2 with the software, right? Software also having its own memory. So this memory means it is storing this data somewhere, right? It is storing data in somewhere in its memory, right? Then only it will perform the operation. So where this data will store, that is stored under the variables. Okay. So here we have one thing, okay? Variables. So in variables, we will design in the Java programming where it does store the value. Okay, and value is nothing like a data, right? So what is the data here? We can understand data is nothing like a kind of value, right? Which will store under the variable, which will store under the variables. Okay, now the data we have a different type, right? We have a data different type. Like for example, I'm saying like we have a character data type, right? We have a int data type. We have a like float data type, right? So character means I'm talking about if I want to store some alphabet A, B, C, something like that, right? That comes under the character. Int data type, we have a like suppose I have to like 12, which is not in a point, decimal, that is called decimal, okay? Which is not in a point, that is called floating point value. Like 12 we have, like 34 we have, like 50, it could be any values. So the value which is not with point, that comes under the int category, right? They have a different range that will cover it. And float means the value which will having some decimal, like 12.5, okay? It could be 12.0. So this after point, right, whatever you are writing, that is called decimal value. So that's why it is called floating point variable. Okay, so that's why we have this data type. So I am creating a one particular variable, okay, variable which will store the value. It could store, and variable means that value will be vary here. Value is not fixed here. So variable means value will not be fixed, right? So here variable means value will not be fixed. So it is storing any kind of value. What kind of value it should be stored? That will tell to the JVM. That means I want to store either float type of data, I want to store either int type of data, or I want to store like in character type of data. So this all comes under the data type categories. So that's why this topics comes here, data type. So first we should know what is a data. Okay, data is nothing like a value which is storing into the computer memory. So that will not store anywhere, that will store under the variable. Variable is something like a house of the data. Like for example, in normal world, right, if you want to live somewhere, we should have some particular house, right, some particular rooms, some particular building where we do live. Same like in data, in memory also we have some kind of blocks. That blocks is called variable where your data will store. So if you are data, you just think on that, it is nothing like a value, that's it, nothing other than that. Okay, so we have a different type of data, so that's why we have to call this data types. So we have a two type of data types, one is a primitive data type, second one is a non-primitive data type. Primitive data type is a data type which is having a fixed size and it is a predefined. Okay, so first we'll cover the primitive data type, then we will look the non-primitive data type. Then primitive data type are having a different categories. So primitive data type are having a three different categories. First one is called numerical data type. Numeric data type is data which will having a numbers. That name suggests, right? Numeric, that means having a numbers, right? And data types, character means which is having the alphabet, like for representing the character. So character types we have like representing the characters, and boolean type here we have a like kind of logical values representing the logical value, like we have a true or false, like suppose if it is true do that operation, if it is false do blah operation. So this data type we are also having which is called logical operations, right? Then numerical data type, again it is having a two categories, integer data type and floating point data type. That means for real number means which is having a decimal value like point value. Integer data type, that means the four who are having a whole numbers. Whole number means like 12, 13, which is not having any floating point value. So they all comes under the primitive only. Non-primitive we did not cover yet, we will look that later on. So first we will cover why it is called primitive. As I told, primitive means predefined. Okay, you have to understand primitive like it is a predefined. Now predefined we have a different size and range. So we have a different data type here, right? You can see here byte, short, int, long. So this top four it's come under the integer category. Float and double comes under the floating point value. Boolean will cover under the true and false, and character comes under the alphabets part. So these are the different data types, right? And they are having a size of it. Like for example byte will store with 1 byte. So we have two things here. One is a size and second one is a range. So let me explain like in this way. Suppose I have one room that is having a suppose 100 square feet, right? So 100 square feet is a size of the I can say that room, I mean range of the room, right? But how much person can sit under the room, or how many I can say like benches, or how many items or how many goods we can keep under the room, right? That is called size of this particular room. Same thing we have in the memory, in computer memory as well, right? Whenever you are storing something somewhere, right, they will have some different size and they will having some different kind of range. So range here we can say that byte range will start with my -128 to +127. And what is the default value or automatic value? So default and automatic value, I am talking that if I will not store anything on it, then it will store on it, right? So we have a byte, 1 byte, range is like -128 to 127. Short be having a like 2 byte, that is having a -3 to 768 to 3 to 768, right? Int is having a like size is like 4 byte and having a like range -2 to power, here 31 is a power of -2, right? -2 to the power 31 to 2 to the power 31 -1, something like that. Okay, long is having a 8 byte and it is having a size range, right? -2 to the power 63 to 2 to the power 63 -1. So they all are the primitive data types which are having a different size and different range. Then we have floating point value as well, right? So float will start with the 4 byte and double will start with the 8 byte. So as I told you, right, primitive means are having a fixed size. Fixed size means I am saying that I want to make an integer that could take a 10 byte, that could take a 20 byte, that could take a 100 byte, right? That will not possible with the primitive. If you want to make one integer that could store 100 byte value, 200 byte value, right? Then definitely I have to pick the non-primitive one only. So primitive always having a fixed size. If you want to pick that data type that could store more than these value, because as we know that, right, in computer memory we are dealing with the megabyte of data, gigabyte of data, terabyte of data, right? That means this data will not be good for them. So we have to store multiple values on it. We have to store multiple type of it as well, right? So that comes under the non-primitive, which will be our next category. Okay, so these are the data type, these are the size, these are the range, these are the default values of it, right? So default value byte, that could be 0, short will be 0, int will be 0, long will be 0, and float will be 0.0 and double also will be 0.0. and boolean that is having a default value called false. If we'll store, that will take your only, but the boolean you can say that size I am putting here NA, but range it is having. What range is, it could be a but allowed are true or false. Here also NA, it could like 1 bit only, so it is having a kind of 1 bit which will store either true or false. And corresponding that, Java is having a one features like Java is a pure object-oriented programming, but not fully object-oriented programming, right? So fully means Java will support, actually this you can understand that when you can start object-oriented programming. So I will skip this right now because we don't know, we did not start like what is a class, what is object, right? We did not go through the object-oriented programming. So this part you will understand when you will start object-oriented programming onwards, right? So till that you have to understand we have a data type, we have a size, we have a range, and we have a default value, right? So these are the different category of the primitive data type. Now let's understand that what is the meaning of it, what is a primitive and how do we create it, what is the meaning of default value. So now I'm directly jumping to the IntelliJ. Okay, so here I can create a variable. Okay, so suppose here I'm creating a one variable like for example here int of suppose x, right? And I'm putting here some, I'm not putting any value here, right? Let me make it static right now. I will tell you what is static later on. Okay, for now, for sake of this, I'm using here static. So I'm creating here static int of x. That means x is a one variable which are having a type of int, right? But what is the default value? Let's say if I did not store anything here, right? I did not store anything here. So what could be the default value? So how to display the variable value? So we know that we have seen in the previous lecture as well, right? If you want to display the variable value or anything in the console, right? We have to use system.out.println, right? System.out.println also having a different category that also I will explain in details when we will start object-oriented programming, because right now we did not start object-oriented programming, right? So you can understand what is the system, what is out, what is a println, right? So we will do that as well. Now if I have to display the x, right? So we have two things here in system.out.println. What two things? One, I can write something in double quote, and second, I can write something without double quote. Okay, so you will be confused when I should pick double quote or when should I not pick double quote. So remember that whenever I want to store something as it is mean, suppose I want to display here hello world, right? Suppose hello. If I want to display hello, so hello is a fixed thing, right? Which is not going to change anywhere, right? So that time I have to keep in double quote. But if you want to display that variable's value, like for example x, in this case what happened, right? I am not displaying x, I am displaying the value which is present under the x, right? So what happened here, let me make you one diagram here in this pen. So what happened here in this memory, here it will create a one block whose name will be x, right? And inside that one value will store, but right now I did not store anything, right? So it will store the 0 because it is a type of int only, right? So int will having a default value called 0 only. So what will store under it? It will store the 0. So that's why if I will run this code, right? See what will I get? I will get the 0 here. So what is the 0? 0 is a not x, 0 is a value of x, right? And everything whichever is storing under the memory, right, that will having some address as well. So that is very important actually. Whenever you are performing some operation, right, over the variable, you should know that it should store somewhere, right? It should store somewhere, and that should having some address as well. So I'm thinking, okay, it is having address like a at 1 2 3 4 something like that, right? So a at rate 1 2 3 4, it's kind of address of this particular x variable which are having a default value like 0. So with the help of this address only, it will get to know that okay, x is having some value which is having a 0. Like normal human beings, we are also having some address, right? Anywhere where do we live in this world, right? So same way, if your data is storing into a memory, that is also having some address. So that way we can understand, right? So x is a variable which is stores some value. Int is a data type. So here x is a one variable which could store any type of value, right? So what type of value it will store? So that is talking about by the int only. So that means x will store the int type of value, right? And that will store the default value right now. But if you want to store your own value, that also we can do it like x equal to 100. So this time it is giving me 100 only, If I will run this, I can get 100 like that, right? So here we are simply writing a system.println x, right? So it is giving me 100. I can create a different variable. I can create like float as well. So I will make a one more variable as static. I can say like it could be float, say like y, float, say like y equal to say like 200, right? So what will happen here if I will display here y, then it will give me 200. So let me rerun this. So it is giving me 200.0, right? Float always store value in the decimal. But if I will not give anything here, right? That time what does it take? Suppose if I am not giving anything, what does it take? It will take the 0.0 only. So that is the default value of it. And if you will store something, that will display that. So let me display both of them here. System.out.println, and what I will do here, I will write here x only, right? So what will happen here? It will display the value of x, which could be 100, and y will having a 0.0 like that. So that way it does store the value and we are displaying the value. So remember that what is the data here and what is the data type, right? So data type, as we have a variable which is not fixed, so that's why we have to tell to the JVM, we have to tell to the computer, Java, what is the type of this particular variable, please store on these things under it, right? What is the type of it, please store under it, right? So there's the int and the float, and we have a like boolean as well, right? So that also we can use here, like static boolean, say like a equal to, right? Let's say I'm not doing anything, I'm not storing anything here, right? So what I will do here, if I will display here system.out.println, and I will put here like suppose a, right? And what will happen if I will run this code? I will get the default values like here false. But if you want to store, you can store anything as well. Like for example, I will store here suppose true. I can store like true as well. So it will give me like true value. I will rerun this. I will get it true. So the default value, if I will not store anything, right? If you store that anything, that will give me that much value only. So that way we can check here how does it work. System.println x, y, and a. So x is giving me 100, y is giving me default value 0.0, a is giving me like a true. So if you want to store something true or false, we have to go with the boolean. If you want to display something in decimal value, like in floating point value, float, int is like a normal number, right? And next we have a character as well, right? So let me write it static. Static, I will let you know, I am adding it right now, but later on I will tell you what is a static, okay, what is the use of it. Right now I am skipping it because the topic we are going to cover, that is the data types only, right? So here I am trying to focus completely on the data types and data only, right? What is the data, what is the data type, what are the different type of data types, right? We are focusing on it only. So character, I am putting here like suppose say z equal to, I am putting here suppose like in single quote, character always will come under single quote, say like a only here, and then I have to write the semicolon at that. And here if you want to write system.out.println, and here I will put like this z, right? So what will happen here if I will display the z? That means it will give me a only. What happen if I will not put anything on it? Let's say I am putting one character value like z only. Let's say what does it display? So it is not giving me anything like that, right? So character are having a default value or not? Let's see. Character are having a default value is like 0, which could be blank space, right? So it will give me some kind of blank space. It doesn't have any default value. If you will not store anything, that will give me blank space. So that is very important that you should understand that what is the data types. So data type is a combination of two words. One is the data and second one is the type. So you should understand like that way. What is the data and what is the type of the data, right? So these all are the type of the data, means type of the variables which will store multiple values. So they are having a different range like that. Range I told you, right? Range is something which is a kind of size, which is kind of a range. What is a, square feet of it, right? Normal we do talk like that, you can understand, right? And in that size means what could be the size of it. something like that. Okay, default value, automatic value, these are this only, and that I'm skipping right now, that we'll cover now later on, right? So that is all for today about primitive data types. Non-primitive data type we will look later on how this non-primitive work. So here I'm just talking about the primitive data types. If you have any question, you can put me on comments. If you like the video, please subscribe it and like it. Thanks for watching.